Hello, everyone. How are
Hello,
you?
hello.
Hello. Well, can you see us? I think we're live. I hope you can see it because it would be ironic if we're talking about visibility and nobody can see us. So that would be a pity, you know. I think we are. I think we are live, and I
We're
think
live.
people can see us. And so let's see. I think we are. So I can see it's working on YouTube, and I can see it's working on LinkedIn. Yeah. So we are
Well,
here.
you're the IT man, so if you get the checkbox, it's working, then it's working.
It is
Good man.
working. So Richard, hi, and thanks for accepting my invite. Or was it me accepting your invite? I can't remember.
I can't remember. We had a conversation for my podcast about 2 weeks ago, and then we sort of just morphed into how similar our approaches were in certain aspects, and then
Yeah,
yeah, we set this up. So yeah,
exactly. Good
good.
memory. Good memory. You remember how this all started. That's great. And yeah, for everybody who's here, who's watching, so thank you very much for taking the time and being here with us. We are normally you say we are thrilled, but this is probably an abused expression, so I would just forget it. And with it, I need to come up with a synonym, but I haven't done that yet. But one day I'll come up with a synonym to thrilled, because I just don't like it anymore. So again, thank you very much. We are here today to talk about visibility, right? Which is something, I don't know, something interesting, and it's an interesting concept, visibility. But visibility is tied to many different things when you're talking about your career, but when you're talking also about your personal life, I think. And visibility opens the door to many things, to promotions, to opportunities, to, I don't know, that trip of your dreams, that job of your dreams, whichever. Like being visible means a lot, means that you are there and that you can do things. Now, today we want to talk about visibility, not just visibility in general, visibility in an international context, of course, because we're using English, and English is the language of work, but also the language of international life. It's many things, English is many things, and I thought of asking Richard to help me with this because obviously he's an expert, and as an English tutor, he's a coach, and he's somehow living the reverse. So I think it's really nice because he's a Brit, but he's living in a different country, right? He lives in Spain. So maybe Richard, you could tell us a bit about what you do, and
Well,
why you're here.
well, the first of all, the Brit living in Spain, I'm sort of like I've got the gazpacho in one hand and the cup of tea in the other. So I've become this kind of morph hybrid span Brit guy over the years. I've lived in Spain for just over 10 years. Yeah. And the reason I'm here, well, I was fortunate enough to meet a very phenomenal, beautiful woman in London one night about 14 years ago, and who said yes to being my wife. And so we moved countries and emigrated. So I was, I think, 34 years old the very first time I sort of embraced learning a second language. Basically, most people from the town where I'm from, the Spanish they know is kind of, you know, San Miguel, Estrella, Macarena, and Uno, dos, tres.
Yeah,
That's kind of
I know
it.
what you
So
mean. Yeah.
yeah, the basics. So yeah, I got into sort of learning Spanish, and then moved to Spain, but I found it extremely challenging to learn a language, certainly later in life.
Oh yeah,
I
tell me
just
about it.
felt, yeah, just I just kind of had this feeling that everywhere I went, I was mispronouncing things. I would get this look of confusion with my accent and stuff, and I just kind of had these layers of doubt, of shame, I just can't do this, and
Yeah.
it's strange because when I was in a situation where I was trying my best in Spanish, that often people would help me in English. You know, I'd be searching for a word, and then they'd say, "Oh, we can speak English if you like." And I'd no idea they could speak English, and I would always say, "Oh, thanks so much. That's great, brilliant." And we'd have a little conversation, and then I'd tell you, "Your English is really good. You know, thanks so much." And literally everybody was saying, "No, no, 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 it's not. My English is terrible. I don't like my accent. You know, I don't like the way I pronounce, you know, H, and I can't
Yeah,
do this, do that, you know." And so I recognized a lot of myself and my own fears in everybody here, but it sort of it got me sort of looking into like where this root of fear comes from, you know. And I was teaching English at the time, early on. I've been teaching since I came to Spain, and the way we were shown to teach English in the TEFL courses and out of all
sure.
the books and all that was literally sort of this very strategic, grammar focused, you know, exercises. And I noticed just all the people here in Spain, my clients were just like super ultra bored with it. Like they weren't engaging with it. It's almost like
Yeah,
they'd seen all this stuff before. What they needed was speaking practice. What they needed was just getting over these fears of making mistakes. And so
absolutely,
that's kind
absolutely.
of where
It's
I am with it, you know.
it's great. Like we have already touched many interesting points. So the first one, obviously, you mentioned fear. Yeah, so fear of being judged, fear of not being enough, and then the boring traditional teaching system. Now, I don't want to say that too loud because someone might get offended. But the point is objectives, in my opinion, right? So we're talking about English, and but I talk about English. Why? So do you need English just because? Then it's fine. You can, study and pass your exam. But you need English for a specific purpose. Then the story changes, in my opinion, right? And so this is, I like to frame it always around objectives. So do you need career promotion? Then you need certain skills. Do you need to communicate with your colleagues? Then you need different skills. Do you want to just go for a trip to London? Then again, other skills altogether. So we always need to clarify that. And that's one point that you've raised, and that I think would resonate with many people, because the traditional school system in Italy, in Spain, but I'm sure in other countries too, it's biased towards the grammar, the literature, but not towards the speaking, of course.
Mm.
And the other point is fear of judgment, right? So you mentioned your personal story, which is again ironic, because like everybody thinks, it's English, so he can go anywhere he wants because he can speak English. But then you go to Spain, you want to actually speak the language there, and all of a sudden you are in a like, I don't know, you flipped the script because you're trying to learn it. And to me, this is another crucial point, because it is exactly the same I experienced. Slightly different, of course, because for me it was English when I moved to Ireland, but it was exactly the same feeling. So I said, no, I'm not enough. Like, I'm in a room so with great speakers, people from Ireland, people from UK. Look, his English is perfect, or her English is spotless. I'm not going to speak, which is wrong. It's just wrong,
Mm.
because, then you're surrounded by people who speak, get promoted, get to visit the clients abroad, start doing interesting projects. So we go back to the idea of visibility. So you get visible not by being perfect, but just by doing the thing, And like so yeah, so I think these are the two main points, really. The school system, which prepares you for fear, for being judged in a way, and the fact that then when we grow up, we keep thinking that someone will judge us, and so basically we get stuck, and we don't go for that job interview. We are afraid of speaking up in that meeting, etc., etc. Yeah. So Yeah, that's the thing I believe. Now, 𝗙𝗏, I am really, really happy to see you here. And I'm happy you. Oh, I think there's a. Okay, there's been a little technical problem, but that's the beauty of being live.
Tech,
Yeah, that's the beauty, of going live.
I thought doing
So
this with a tech guy, there would be no tech issues. So
no, that's
I'm
of course
completely
it's
blaming.
quite the opposite, Richard. When I'm around, I am surrounded by tech. I mean, I used to work with printers, right? Printers,
Right.
those things that never do what they're supposed to. So, 𝗙𝗏, I'm really happy to see you here, and thanks for your lovely wishes. Yes, I think it is a great topic, and one that would probably resonate with many. So now we've spoken about the risk, yeah. So we've spoken about the fear, the fact that we keep silent, that we don't speak, that we try to hide in a way because we fear we're not enough, yeah, which is you know uh, we are talking about really what happens regularly with professionals, and I'm sure with the people you've met, Richard. So, and the risks are big because if you're staying visible in meetings, if you don't put yourself out there because you're afraid you miss all those work, like promotion opportunities, new positions. You get stuck because obviously, if you don't know English and if you can't speak English, you can't apply for certain positions. You end up losing confidence over time. So I've heard many people, oh no, I'm too old for that. I've missed my train. I will never sound confident. Maybe it's too late, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, which
Mm.
is something I hear day in, day out. Is this the same? Like, is this the same experience you've had, Richard? So, with the people you
Well,
work with, in terms of, not being visible and not being confident.
well, absolutely. And I think what you've just said there, those phrases, I'm not good at this, I can't do this. All those things are the story you're telling yourself, internal voice or the inner critic, if you will, that's telling you that. So for me, and the other thing you mentioned earlier is that comparison. You're talking about comparing yourself with other people in the meeting, whether it's native speakers or whether it's some people who may have spent 12 months in California or a year doing an Erasmus or something, right? So there's a couple of different elements to look at for me. One of them is comparison. Of course, comparing yourselves to others that are slightly ahead of you is a good thing. It's motivational. It keeps us striving to improve, and we all want to improve and get better. That's great. But when you're comparing yourself to this, you know, perfect, whatever that means, ideal, normally a lot of people feel that's native speakers, right? Then, it becomes detrimental to your progress because you stay silent, you don't take any action unless it's perfect action. So I work with people a lot on this balance between high standards, having high standards. Most of the clients I have are C-suite executive, you know, senior managers, business owners, so they're in these high positions because they've got high standards, right? They want to do things properly. They don't want to make mistakes. That's understandable. But it's getting to the root of, like, as I said, the balance between having high standards and performing to the best of your abilities, but also allowing yourself permission, really, to make a couple of mistakes along the way, because obviously without mistakes you don't learn, right? Every mistake in life is a free lesson, and it's kind of it's almost like the exact opposite of the schooling system, in a way, that that sort of penalized mistakes, and this culture of, if it's not, if you don't get a 9, 10 out of 10 and you make mistakes, then it's wrong and you're a failure, right? So, and that's deep within us all. There's this phrase in Spain, it's like beneath the capas de la cebolla, right? It's like underneath the layers of the onion. If you peel back the onion to where that actually all started and sort of help people deal with that, reframe that, kind of rewire those deep
Yeah,
fears, then for
absolutely.
me, that's kind of, it builds a stronger foundation for you to move forward with things. So I work with people a lot, sort of what's healthy comparison, what helps you, instead of destroy you in speaking. And also we work a lot on this kind of, right, that root of those initial concerns
Yeah,
about
yeah,
not getting things wrong.
exactly.
And I just noticed it so much in Spain with people, Daniela, and especially with working with clients. Whenever I would correct them in a class, first thing they said was sorry. Oh, it's at the end, not in the end. Oh, I'm sorry. Like, don't be sorry. It's say
No need
thank you.
to
You've
be.
learned a
Yeah,
lesson. Yeah, but it's so common for us all. It's the same with
yeah.
little kids. That like often we do that. It's a natural
Oh
thing.
yeah,
So
yeah. It is extremely common. And actually, yeah, on this note, I would also invite people if they want to leave ideas or questions or, share experiences because, yeah, what you're saying, Richard, is common. And I think many people would, again, resonate with this, yeah, being sorry because you can't speak the language. I don't know how many times I said sorry in the first 2 years I was in Ireland, but that's the reality. It's hardwired in your brain. But for me, like the turning point was, yeah, when I was at work after I worked many years perfecting my English. So like going for those certificates, studying all the grammar. And then I thought I had it. So, okay, now I'm ready to, I don't know, to rock it. And, like I hit career stagnation. So nothing was happening for me. And I couldn't understand quite why, because, I always got compliments for the way I was working. But at the same time, I was getting nowhere. And people who had, like, let's say, lower level of English than mine on paper, I were getting assigned to interesting projects, were getting more visible, to go back to the idea of visibility. And I couldn't understand why. So there was something else, and there was something different that I needed to work on. And so now we've spoken about the pains, right? So the fear, the judgment, this idea of not being enough, this idea that we will never get there, and so we will not dare to do things because we are afraid, right? So how do we move it? How do we take it? Where do we take it from here? So how do we stop this and start doing something more meaningful? So the solution, right? Because there is a solution. It doesn't have to be painful, and it doesn't have to be terrible. So there are ways, yeah. And in the event description, we put some ideas on what you can do to flip the script in a way, and also to work on those things you mentioned, Richard. So like your things that are hardwired in your brain, right? So to give it a more optimistic view, I would love to start talking about solutions, right? And I have a couple of ideas, of course, and I guess you also have a couple of ideas, right? So I'd love to talk about that first block that we mentioned. So the fact that this is hardwired in our brain. So the school system. I call it the learning paradox. Yeah. The learning paradox. So you study English for what? 5, 8, 10 years even. And then the first time you go to a meeting, you go like, no, I just can't speak. So how do we move from here? Yeah.
For me, when you say the word solution, the root word of that is solve, right? So it's looking at what problem needs solving, and everybody's got their own individual aims, outcomes they're looking to achieve. So first of all, is you need to know that, okay, what is it you want to achieve, and make it time bound by when, because the problem, again, I'm quite critical of a previous teaching system, but tended to be, English classes, pay by the hour, and the idea as an English teacher was just keep your client coming back, right? Even on one of the courses I went on, it's like, as long as they come back next week, that's all you want, right? 20 euros an hour, be an English teacher, keep them coming back, keep them coming back. And with that, it's a never ending road
Jeez.
of like, because there's no line in the sand for me with this, right? It's no, oh, I've learned Spanish now, that's good, finish that. I'm a really amazing parent now, that's done. No, like, we're constantly improving, right? We're constantly getting better. So for me, you need to say to people, right, what is it you want to achieve? And let's look at achieving that by when. Now, whether it's that is, okay, I've got to present to the board every Monday morning, I've got to do video calls better, whatever it might be with people, right? And you say, okay, well, let's look at this and let's work together for 3 months. Let's have a session every couple of weeks. But in the meantime, between those sessions, you need to expose yourself to English more, get fun and engaging ways to, listen to more podcasts or little things on your phone. Like, what are you doing on social media? What are you into? What do you like? And let's look at the equivalent of that in English as well. So sort of bring into English into your life more as well. Because as soon as you walk out of an English class, you're in your own language again, you're in your own country again. You need to keep it going. It's like going to the gym, isn't it? It's like keeping that maintenance of the language, instead of saying to people, look, here's a load of grammar exercises you've got to study for hours and hours, which nobody's got the time, or energy to do anyway.
Yep.
Right. So you get those ideas, and once you've got that, then you start working with people and, helping them move forward with this stuff. And again, another thing that I like to do is then really take a deep dive into how they're feeling about themselves and their English when they speak it. Because for me, yes, language, there's a technical element to it. There are the grammatical walls of the house, if you will, right? The structure of it,
Yeah,
which most
absolutely.
people at a C-suite level, right? They've got that already, right? People usually know more than they think they know with a lot of things.
Yes.
But I found in many classes when I would do self-corrections with people and ask them, I would elicit the answer from them. 9 times out of 10, they already knew it. Right? They've done those gap fill exercises before. They know it anyway. And for me, it's about saying, listen, when you're in this meeting and you've got the idea, right? You are the expert in that situation. You're there to deliver your message, and everybody in that room is focusing on your message and your expertise. Nobody's there focusing on your little minor mistakes. If you said on the taxi, not in the taxi, or depends on, nobody's looking for that. The mistakes are amplified so much more in your mind than they are in the mind of the receiver of the message. And that is a fundamental part that nobody really helps people understand, I think.
Yeah.
Especially when you've got a 10, 20 euros an hour teacher that wants you to come back next week. There's always this kind of like, you're not quite good enough yet. You're not quite good enough yet. Come on. I'll help you get better.
Keep
I'll help
coming.
you get better.
It's
Exactly.
like an English pusher.
Exactly.
A pusher of
Exactly.
English, even.
And really, it mirrors the messaging that we're given on social media all the time, isn't it? It's like we're constantly bombarded with these, carousels of perfection and 3 ways to be better at that and 5 ways to do this better, right? Which I think there's an underlying feeling there of, oh, you're not quite good enough. You're not good enough at that.
Absolutely.
You're not good enough at how to get to sleep at night. So here's the steps you need to follow to be better. And I think
absolutely.
I think for me, what's missing, and this is how I help my clients and the messaging I'm putting out, is actually, to use a Spanish phrase, tu nivel de inglés es mucho mejor de lo que tú piensas, right? Your level of English is much better than you think it is, all right? Let's take the foundation of what you've already got and let's put yourself in this meeting and the situation now. Yes, you can improve. Let's look at the things and the patterns, particularly specific to you, of what you say that are challenging. I don't like using the word wrong, but what are challenging to you? What are those mistakes? So we do that by recording the sessions and we analyze the transcript afterwards and we pick out 5 or 6 things that are common and wrong and incorrect for them.
Yep.
And then we build some exercises around that, first of all. So technically, yes, we want to improve. But actually, what I want to do is say to people, listen, when you're in that situation, remember this. People are there to focus on you and your message. You're the expert. You're in this position of authority because of your high standards, because you've spent years, improving and fine-tuning what you do and what you know. So remember that. Remember that
Absolutely.
before you go in.
Absolutely.
Let's do some exercises before you go in, just like I did before I started this today. Put on some music. Eye of the Tiger, Dire Straits, Brothers in Arms, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, get the
Power pose,
endorphins moving.
power
Exactly,
pose.
all that stuff,
I
all
gotta
the
get a
power pose,
boost. Yeah,
all
yeah.
that stuff that's all over LinkedIn, all over the,
But
all over the carousels on LinkedIn,
surely
whatever.
they do
But,
work. These things do work. Yeah, I like the power
exactly.
pose works. The music, yeah,
The
absolutely,
music
Richard.
for me
Yeah,
is
it's
key.
just
But just to finalize what I'm
yeah,
saying here, is that then what I say to people is, I just say there are two types of communicator as well. You've got this person in a meeting that's getting involved, expressing their ideas, showing their expertise, saying the odd proposition wrong at the end, in the end, saying it a little bit, wrong, a fairly thick accent, but they're understandable. They're getting the point across. They're making a. Or you've got this perfectionist here that's blocked by getting it right and getting those sentences exactly how they were, in the exams, and exactly how it says in the exercises. At the, I had have third conditional. By the time you've thought that through in your mind, the moment's gone. You've missed your opportunity to say it.
the meeting
And
is
that
over, and you're still there
exactly,
thinking.
and that visibility, the person that gets the visibility is the one that's speaking up. And
Yeah,
that's the one that's getting promoted. That's the one that I want, that person on my team, please. And that
absolutely,
is kind of the
absolutely.
fundamentals of how I help people.
And I'd like to thank. There's a lovely message from Ignacio, and I would like to thank him because he used one of the keywords to be spontaneous, right? Which is another key thing. So when you're spontaneous, it means that what you're doing, you are speaking, right? And it all starts with speaking. We're talking about a language after all. We're not talking about I don't know, some strange theoretical subject or topic. We're talking about a language. So a language without speaking is, unless it's Latin, and as long as you're not a priest, you gotta use that language. You know what I mean? So spontaneous. Yes, Ignacio, I am 100% with you, because it's not a perfection. This perfection thing, it's like what Richard was telling about this self-conscious person who wants to be perfect before taking action. And that's one thing I always tell people, right? So first you take action, and then you level up as you go. This is one of the key parts of my hack strategy, right? So I have this idea that, well, probably because I work with people in tech, probably because I come from an IT background, but you can hack it. And by that I mean, obviously, that you have to hone your skills. So to sharpen your skills in context. So what you need, really, not everything. So I won't be able to, for example, to help you be a better doctor. Well, no, I can't do that. And I can certainly help you with that specific target language. But like, if we're talking about meetings in a corporation, in a multinational environment, surely I can help, because I've been there, and that's what I do. That's why I call it hone. But that one without the action is just useless. So how do you take action? Yeah, but the usual thing is, yeah, but I don't live in an English-speaking country. Yeah, but we live in 2025, which means we have plenty of opportunities. We can, we can record ourselves. We can take videos of ourselves. We can share those videos. We can, I don't know, we can look at those videos back. So we have plenty of opportunities to speak, so to be with the language, but also to use it. And then, you have to see the collaboration. So why doing it alone? There are communities everywhere. So thinking about people in tech, there are lovely communities on Discord. There are Reddit threads. There are channels. So you can interact there, and people are normally nice. So it means that, yeah, you can chat to people, you can make your mistakes, and that's absolutely fine. Nobody will judge you. So that's one thing. And of course, you can get a mentor to help. You can get a friend to give you feedback. You can get a coach. So the collaboration, I think, it's like a fast track to improvement. And then the last part, I always tell people letter K. Oh, what's letter K? It's kudos, because you have to reward your efforts. You have to give yourself credit for what you're doing. You're speaking a second language. Come on, not everybody does it. And you weren't born with a second language in your brain, so you are making a huge effort, and you should reward that. And by rewarding that, you keep going, and you get your energy, you get your momentum, and and you start, I don't know, making peace with yourself in a way. I don't know, that's the way I see it anyway. So to get practical and to get into action. Yeah. So flip the
I have a
script.
question about your IT. All IT people, do they love an acronym? Is that the
Well, you see, what
the
happens
key
is when you are in a
question?
corporation, when you work in a
Anyway,
multinational corporation, it's full of acronyms, right? So everything is an acronym. The first couple of weeks, you're bombarded with acronyms. Enough of them are just like, they feel like secret language, So what's, I need this file by COB. What's COB? I don't know. And oh yes, at the end of the presentation, AOB. And okay, what is that? Like you look like an idiot. The first month in a multinational corporation,
yeah.
I certainly looked like an idiot, because everybody was using these words, everybody was using these acronyms, and I was like, FYI, FYI, what?
Yeah, I know that one. I can pass that one. Well, you reminded me actually. A friend of mine once said that the LAPD, right? He said it doesn't stand for Los Angeles Police Department. He said it stands for that feeling on a Sunday night before you go back to work on a Monday. He said it's loneliness, anxiety, paranoia, and depression. That was what I remembered. So you've reminded me of
Well,
that just there now. But
absolutely, that's
we've
a funny
we've
one.
got a surprise guest coming on.
Yes, Richard. Yeah, because
I
you
think, haven't
mentioned
we? We've
friends,
got a
and
surprise guest.
yeah, so someone who let us introduce him before we put him on screen. What do you think? Like
Well,
someone
yeah, I think I'll
who,
introduce him. Yeah.
yeah.
I'll introduce
So
him because this is a guy called 𝗙𝗵𝗀𝗶𝗀𝗋 Ortega. I think I've pronounced his name properly there. Angel's a good friend of mine. I first met him when I first moved to Spain. So at the time, my Spanish is like completely zero patatero, we say in Spain, right? And I'm in a group of friends, and then this guy starts speaking English, and I'm like, awesome, right? So I was straight over to him like a magnet, because just kind of to make a friend, And I was like, just really blown away. I was, there you go, that's one for the name you wanted at the beginning of the call. I was super impressed with his English, and we became friends, and he taught me a few little phrases to learn. So I started learning the language in blocks. It was like, mi español es un poco básico, pero lo intentaré. In Spanish is a little basic, but I'll try. And I used to say that when I used to go in shops just to preempt things. Anyway, we became great friends, and it was always my dream, really. And I said this to him at the time: if I could speak Spanish to the level that you could speak English, that would be a dream for me. And I thought I would bring him on to speak about his attitude towards the way he speaks English. He's done, super well in his career. He speaks English in this kind of like best way that he can. He's not bogged down by mistakes and stuff, and he kind of is the sort of model of how I help my clients become, really. So that's why I
wow.
thought it'd be great
Well,
to chat with him.
let's get him onto the stream. Okay, Hangel. Hi.
Hello, hello.
Hello. How are you? How are
There you
you?
go.
Very good, very good.
Oh,
Thank you.
thanks for
Thank you,
being.
Richard, for that introduction.
Yeah, exactly. I
Well,
was
I,
gonna
I
ask
don't
Hangel. Good
I don't deserve
introduction.
so much.
I
But
have
I'm
I
very
have
fond
a
of it.
question for you, Hangel. So what about Richard and his Spanish? Did he get to the level he wanted to?
I think that he's in the correct path. No, I think that he's speaking Spanish better than he seems to be, or he thinks. For sure, for sure.
Well,
In fact, I think that his Spanish is better than my English, but maybe
Well,
don't start
maybe
a
he,
competition, guys. I'm not going to witness that. Okay, I don't want to see that.
maybe he doesn't agree, but I'm sure.
I think that just shows, though, your own self-perception of things, right? About we often don't see our own abilities for how good they are. It's a little bit like I was saying before, like most people know more than they think they do. And, because we're very exigente, right? We're very demanding on ourselves in order to be better, right? And I think you've just painted that picture perfectly. But you may think from your perspective that my Spanish is really, really good, and there are some days I just think it's absolutely terrible, depending on who I'm with, who I'm around, But for me, your English, Angel, I mean, how much do you use it on a day-to-day basis, English?
Well, it's not too much, but sometimes I have to have conversations or calls with some clients abroad. But it's not every day. It's not every day. I wish it was every day, but it's not at the moment. We don't have so
Yeah.
intensive
Let me
contact, but sometimes, I have to use it in calls like this, or even through email. It's very usual. Yeah. So
Right.
yeah.
So, Hankal, so it can be done then.
Yes, 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 yes.
You're the living proof. It can be done.
Yes, it can be done. Yeah. Of course, there is a technical side, like in everything in life, or well, not technical, but it's something that is based in knowledge. You need resources, you need vocabulary to expand your resources. Resources are very important when you are speaking in English, because it gives you that automatism that you need when you need an expression to express something. So this is important, and it's important to the self-study. It's important to be in contact with the English, but it's important, as you mentioned before, the attitude, because the attitude is the mind changer. Is something that that it takes you to the next level, and it is something that is related to this way of being like shameless, or
Yeah.
you
Cheeky
know
face, I call it.
yeah. It's like when you were at the disco and you were a bit shy with a woman, and suddenly a friend of you that is maybe more ugly than you, or but
Yeah.
he's much more brave, and suddenly he succeeded, and you thought, well, amazing, he's the winner. Because sometimes this kind of mindset, that is the loser mindset, it blocks you. It's a jail that you build for yourself, and
Yeah.
sometimes you don't realize that this is something that is stopping you to grow in some way. That's what I think.
Oh yeah.
It's a really good point you mentioned. And what I want to say is, for that, when you talk about discos or bars, like what a lot of people I meet here in Spain don't realize is that Angel, right? If we went out in a bar, in a pub, in a disco, to my hometown, the northwest of England, me and you are in this bar, and you're there speaking English with your accent, right? Your Spanish accent. You got great olive skin and lots of hair as well. They've got more hair than me, but that's another thing. But your accent over there is super cool, right? You're the coolest guy in the bar by a long way, right? It's almost like your superpower. All of a sudden, it makes you different. It makes you unique, And I
Yeah.
just think a lot of people don't realize that. They think, oh, I don't like my accent. I want to sound like a native. It's like, hang on a minute. It's just, that's
No.
not like your accent's what part of what makes
This
you, So
Yeah,
th-
it's a part of yourself. It is something that it comes from your identity in some way.
yeah. It reminds me
sometimes
of a great interview with, sorry, because this is with actor Arnold Schwarzenegger. He actually explained that his accent got him the job in Hollywood because it just sounded like it sounded perfect for what they were looking for. So they say, okay, never change your accent. And to this day, he has not changed his accent, you know? So you can still feel he was not born in California. And he doesn't care. Okay, he is famous. He has been in Hollywood. He's been politician. He's been governor, whatever. But you know, the message is the same. Accent is your identity, and it can open doors for sure. You know, like it's done for you, Angel. I'm sure. You know.
Yeah, and sometimes I was thinking about what you mentioned before. In Spain, I think I'm not sure 100% about this, but I think that we have some kind of like higher self-conscious about what we or insecure about our abilities, you know, in comparison to other countries or other cultures that are much more proud of themselves. For example, well, my wife is working in an American multinational, and she told me that in the Americans, well, in the States, no, they are like much more shameless, much more proud of them and their abilities. They are completely sure or confident about themselves, and they jump into the ring without no problems at all. and they do things like being the chairman of a meeting, you know, in the way of being very conscious about their capabilities. And this is something that here in Spain is like, wow, this is like I don't know how to express this in English, but like someone who is having an excess of being confident, you know,
to be too self-conscious, to probably too worried about how they appear, probably.
Yes. But when you analyze in a company the head offices in the departments or the persons that reach to high level of management, normally they are having this feature of character, of presence, of being in a professional way like this. So maybe this is something that we have to reflect about it in Spain. And it is
hear that a lot.
Yeah, and it is very well related to the topic that we are currently speaking.
I think you're right. It's cultural as well. It's cultural.
Exactly. It's the mind, the culture, the environment.
Idiosyncratic in Spain in some way. We try to think about ourselves like we are not so well prepared. I feel embarrassed because I have to speak English. I don't. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because the perfection is killing spontaneity.
Exactly.
And it's important to bring to the table again the spontaneity, because it is important not only in English, just in our relations with clients, for example. We are persons. You're a person. You have passions. I have passions.
We're against the clock a little bit. Speaking of spontaneity, Angel, so I'm gonna hand it over to Daniele, but I know he's very perfectionist with his timing. So I just want to thank you like a lot for joining the call, and from what you've said, it's been really insightful, and just to listen to the way you confidently express yourself in English has been It's been fantastic. Daniela, if you want to add
Thank you.
anything else.
Yeah, I want to add that next time we'll do it in Spanish. So Angel will introduce
Sí, por
us
supuesto.
and will put us on the spot. Yeah. What do you think, Angel?
Yeah, perfect. I think that it's a great idea.
It would only be fair because you came here, you showed up, and it was really lovely
Yeah.
of you. And yeah, it's just as I said earlier, it can be done.
Yes, of course.
And it has to do with our mindset, with culture, with our ego as well.
Yes,
I
of
always
course.
think, I want to close with this because I always think with about kids, children, right? Their ego is not as developed or our adult egos, and so they don't care. They learn
Yeah.
because everything is new to them. They get used to being told, "Oh, this is wrong. This is wrong." Well, what do? They try again.
Yes.
Think about the first time you jumped on a bike. You wanted to ride a bike. How many times did you fall?
A lot.
Yeah, but what did you do? You tried again. You
Yeah.
tried again. Now, when you want to learn how to ride a bike when you're an adult, it's much harder because you're more self-conscious. And
course.
exactly what you mentioned earlier, Angel, you're more self-conscious, so it's harder. Same with a language. Oh, no. I'm an expert. I'm a manager. I can't possibly go there and look stupid,
Yeah.
with my broken English, with my broken Spanish, my broken Italian, whatever that is,
Of course.
And that's a child would never do that, because so what? I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always wrong.
Yeah, because they are 100% spontaneous.
Exactly. And
That's
so,
and I just want to add something.
of course, bring it on.
If the audience want to look for it, Rafa Nadal, who is a great tennis player and an example of effort and success in a very difficult field, no? A very competitive. He said that the people who normally success in life is the one succeeding in life is the one who is the one who gives themselves more opportunities.
Yes.
Just like a final message.
Deep message. Yeah.
That I think that it is important because he's a guy that has struggled a lot and has put a lot of effort in his field. So
yes,
absolutely.
The practice, the mindset, flipping the approach, do things, and then level up later. Put yourself out there and surround yourself with English, as Richard said, and give yourself opportunities, as Hangel said. And yeah, that's it, really. So one final message: start doing things today. Don't wait tomorrow, I'd say. Yeah. Okay. So, well, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure being here with you. And I want to thank everybody who was here with us. I want to thank 𝗙𝗶 for the insightful comment. I want to thank Ignacio for, giving us one of the key words, being spontaneous. I love it. And yeah, thank you very much, everybody, for watching, for listening. And we'll keep in touch. You'll find us on LinkedIn. You find Richard on LinkedIn. You can connect with him. You find me on LinkedIn. You find Hangel on LinkedIn, I guess.
Yes,
if people want to connect with him. Sorry, I wasn't prepared.
Yeah. Of course, it's great.
Yeah. And so do get in touch if you want to explore these ideas more, and we can get you from 0 to 100, like Angel.
Thank you for the invitation.
So long, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.